some key terms associated with it, FRC and FRS. Some people call it FRC reports, some people call it FRS reports, but both mean the same. FRC stands for Financial Reporting Center, and it's basically a work area within the application. So if you log into a Fusion Cloud application, yes, log in as pin_IMPL user, so that this user has the required access to be able to build FRS reports. You scroll to the right and you go into others, you will see a work area called Financial Reporting Center. So Financial Reporting Center is basically a work area within the ERP cloud application from where you can see FRS reports and execute them. Okay, so when I come here, I see 3 tabs, and if I go into recent tab, I'll be able to see the FRS reports that are executed recently in the application. If I've marked some of them as favorites, they will show up here if I go into this. And in the All tab, you will be able to see all the FRS reports that exist in the application. FRS reports, it is basically a financial life statements that you build. What are some of the examples of financial life statements? It can be a balance sheet report. It can be it can be a cash flow statement. It can be an income statement report, right? So those reports will be available here. And what we do was, before we build a custom FRS report or FRS report, what we do was, let's try to run one of the standard report given by Oracle. So let's go into all and let's try to execute a report called, maybe let's execute USA balance sheet report. Go into all tab and see. You can search for USA balance sheet report. It should usually be available in the recent tab itself. You can go into this. Let me just search with US balance sheet report. Let's see a few balance sheet reports here, but it will be the name would be very specific. It will be US balance sheet report, USA balance sheet report. Or what we can also do is, we can open up the report definition and we can pick up the exact name from there if you want. So you click on the task ribbon here, and you can click on open workspace for the reports. And this will take you into EPM page, Enterprise Performance Management page. Let's wait for it to load. And in this page, it's basically EPM page, Enterprise Performance Management page. And from the tools, you have an option to launch a financial reporting web studio. So you can launch it. And that will launch the financial reporting web studio. And using that web studio, you can build a custom FRS report. Sure, let's run an edit. It looks like we have some issue in this instance. Let me try out a different one. Let me get a new instance. Pause the screen share. Give me a minute, guys. I'm checking if that option opens up in a different application or not. Just give me 1 minute, guys. I've signed into a different application here. Let's see if we get the same error there. Ideally, you should not get that error. So someone tried to customize the user interface. And you can go into others tab. And in the others tab, you should be able to see the financial reporting center. Well, you don't see others tab itself here.
You can see there, Prasad, if you go again.
Okay. So sometimes the navigation option might show up in a different option.
It's not in others, so somewhere it's left side. I saw.
Click on more.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Can you come to left side? Left.
Yeah. Under.
Yes.
Under lease reporting you have. Yeah, but usually it will be available under others. But but the finance reports are showing up here. So let's try to pick up this US balance sheet report as an example. And let's also see if we get that error that we have got when we went into that FRS screen. Hello, pop-ups. Let's see. You can click on tools and you can launch the financial reporting web studio. And that is where you will build finance reports from that particular screen, the financial reporting web studio. Let's wait for it to launch.
Prasad, this is Kumar.
Yes, Kumar.
I missed the first 5 minutes of this class. What exactly you're trying to show?
We're just starting off with FRS reports. So yeah, we haven't started yet. So you attended yesterday's session, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So if you have to build reports on GL balances, there are two options available. You can build them as FRS or SmartView reports. And we are starting off with FRS reports now. And the FRS reports, there are a few things that you need to know, or you need to have the required background before you build an FRS report. Like it's not like a BIP report where you plug in an SQL query. So what we try to do is we try to run a seeded FRS report given by Oracle, but we were not able to see those options here. In one instance, we ran into an error. So we picked up a different instance, and yes, we were able to see the standard reports given by Oracle. And we were also able to launch the financial reporting Studio tool.
Excellent.
In fact, we're just starting. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And we are so what we do is we'll first try to understand the basics of FRS reports by executing a standard report. So you see this USA balance sheet report. So this balance sheet report, income statement report, all of these are examples of FRS reports or financial life statements. So to execute a report, all you have to do is click on it. And when you click on it, what will happen? If there is any prompt configured for the report, remember you can configure prompts for OTBA reports and parameters for BIP, right? Like it's like basically collecting information or collecting inputs from a user like with what inputs they would like to execute the report. So if that report has a prompt, the prompt shows up now. I think pop-ups are not allowed. Yeah, you could see the prompt here, and it is prompting me to select the company segment for which company segment or segments for which I want to view the balance sheet report. So this is like, think of it as a prompt for OTBI report. And there are also default values selected here. Put a default value selected 101 and total company, and you can click on OK. And then your report will run. Your report will run with those parameters, and it will generate the output. So this FRS report will generate the balance sheet report for company 101 and a total company. And this is how a typical FRS report looks like. Okay, so when you write a BIP report, where did you pull those balances, or where did you get that information from? You queried the base tables. Say for example, when we created that AR invoice print report, we queried the base tables of the AR invoice. Like we queried RA customer transactional table and line score table, right? In the case of financial reports, the data source would not be SQL tables. Instead, there is something called as Essbase Cube. Okay, from that Essbase Cube, the details will be pulled. So we'll talk about the Essbase Cube in a moment. So first of all, if you look at the report, output, yes, a financial report can also have a logo. It can have a text. And if you look at the section, this is a balance sheet report. How does a typical balance sheet report looks like? It will have two sections. Even if you look at any balance sheet report that is published in a newspaper or in the news, it would typically look like this. You have an asset section, and you have liabilities and stockholders equity section. And under assets, again, you have sub classification. You have current assets, bunch of them, and a total, and you have other assets as well. And similarly, current liabilities and non-current liabilities and equity. So this and the balances have been displayed for these rows. And to understand this report, what we do is, let's try to open this report. Okay, let's try to open it here. And to open the FRS report, yes, I want to go into shade folder. So the FRS reports will be available in a specific folder. You have to go into shade, custom folder. I've given the path in the PPT. So it's not this PPT. We've got, I think we have used, okay, let me open the FRS PPT. So it will be available under this path. Okay, so it will be available under this path. Under shade folders, you have custom folder. Under shade folders, you have custom folder. And under custom folders, you have fin folder again. You expand that. And within the fin folder, you have a folder called FR, which stands for financial reports, and you expand that as well. And you scroll down. And if you look at the list of reports available here, you could see all the FRS reports that Oracle has given us. These are all the seeded reports. Here you see income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement report. So the one that I'm interested in is balance sheet report. I click on it. I want to see how Oracle has built this report so that the output is generated in this particular format. How Oracle has built this report in the backend. Okay, so I've opened up this report here. And what do you see here? You see that, yes, there is a logo that has been plugged in. Okay, let me click on the body alone. Okay, we'll focus on the important ones. Or if you click on the report alone, or the report itself, you have a logo and you have a report heading. It's a hard-coded text, and this is a logo plugged in. And if you look at the body, you could see whatever you see here that is being displayed as in the output here. So under the asset section, if you take the first row, Under the current assets, you see cash and cash equivalent, and you see a balance in there, and you see accounts receivable, and you see a balance in there. Let's pick up second line. And what is the second line under current assets here? You see that it is so if you look at the report definition, you don't see a word called accounts receivable here, but instead there is an account number that has been selected. Instead, there is an account number that has been selected. And the balance against that particular account number available in the SPSQ has been displayed here. Okay, first of all, what is an SPSQ? Whenever you do some transactions within a GL, say for example, in ERP Cloud, you have subledgers which are configured, like purchasing, payables, receivables, etc. Wherever you do the transactions which have a financial impact, you account them and you transfer them to GL. And after you transfer them to GL, you might also post them in GL. So when you transfer accounting entries from subledgers to GL, it doesn't matter whether you do it in summary mode or detail mode. Balances will not get updated in SPSQ at this particular stage. But when you post a journal in GL, that is when the balances would get updated in an SPSQ. So what is this SPSQ? It is basically a multi-dimensional reporting queue that comes along with a GL Cloud application. Whenever client gets a new GL Cloud application or new ERP Cloud application which has a GL enabled, to that GL Cloud, there would be an SPSQ cube attached. And that SPSQ cube is nothing but a multi-dimensional reporting cube. I think I have a definition given in the PPT here somewhere. Yeah, so that SPSQ cube is nothing but a multi-dimensional reporting cube. So whenever an account has been hit with a balance or balance has been updated against a particular account, that gets updated in an SPSQ cube. And when you want to pull the balances, GL balances, yes, of course, there are two ways to do it. You can query the GL balances table, or you can query the GL journal related base tables, and you can create a BAP report if you want. And instead of doing that, because of the volume of the transactions in GL, it would obviously be very high. For that reason, instead of reporting from the base tables using a BAP report, what Oracle did is you have this SPSQ cube attached to a GL Cloud application, which will let you do the reporting in a much more easier fashion, and you will be able to pull the balances in real time with in very less time as well. That's because the balances, when they get stored in SPSQ cube, they get stored from multiple dimensions. Or each record or the records, when they are inserted into SPSQ cube, they would be stored in multiple dimensions. Okay, so it becomes much more easier for you to pull the balances from SPSQ cube rather than writing SQL queries and pulling them from GL base tables. So that's a bit about SPSQ cube. And do you have to do anything to set it up? You don't have to do anything. It comes out of the box along with a GL Cloud application. If you have an ERP Cloud application, if you have an ERP Cloud application where GL is enabled, the SPSQ cube comes attached to it. And the integration also is seamless. Like whenever you post a journal in GL, you don't need to do anything for that balance to be posted into SPSQ cube. It happens automatically. And when will the balance get updated in SPSQ cube? Not when you transfer journals from subledgers to GL, but when you post the journal in a GL. That's when the balance gets updated to SPSQ cube. And when you look at this report, so if you look at this report, so this is a report created by Oracle for USA balance sheet. And this is the output that it has generated, right? And this is the output that it has generated. And if you look at the second row, let's take an example. If you take the second row, what do you see in the report output? You see accounts receivable, but you see a balance there. And if you go back into the report definition, the second row under current assets, I could see an account number in there. So don't worry about all these dots here. So these dots, V1 dot, T dot, 10,000 dot, 12,000, this is basically a hierarchy. So whenever accounts are loaded into SPSQ cube, they will be loaded as hierarchies, and this particular account number has been picked up from a hierarchy. So focus only on the last one, the last segment, on the last account number. So this is if you look at the second row, 12,000 account number has been selected, right? Don't worry about the first few bits. Those are coming from a hierarchy. 12,000 is selected as an account number. But what do you see here? Do you see 12,000? No, you're seeing accounts receivable. So this balance that you're seeing here, or 203923850, this is the balance of 12,000 account number. And 12,000 is a parent account of accounts receivables. But if I print 12,000 here, not many of you will understand what exactly that account number mean, right? It's like testing your memory or user's memory. So to make it easy for user to understand what balance does that account refers to, so you in the report definition, it has account number has been used, balance of that has been pulled and displayed here. But for that particular row, there was a custom heading given called accounts receivable, and whatever custom heading you give here, that will be displayed in the output. Even though you're seeing accounts receivable here, what's internally within it, it's basically a 12,000 account number, and this is a balance of that account number. Okay, so that's how these rows are built. And if you look at the report, in any FRS report, this particular section is a key. So the table that you're seeing here, it is the key, and it is called as a grid. It is called as grid. And within a table, you can have columns, and you can have rows, and you can have columns, right? So whenever you create an FRS report, you will decide what you want to have as rows and what you want to have as columns. And typically, this will be the format that you see in 9 out of 10 FRS reports. You will have accounts used as rows and accounting period used as columns. Okay. And as rows, if you look at the rows, there are 3 types of rows you can have in FRS reports. There are 3 types of rows you can have. You can have, yes. Okay. You can have 3 types of rows within an FRS report. You can have a header row or a text row like this, like wherein it's a blank text, or you can have a data row. So you can have a header row or a text row like this, or you can have a data row like this, wherein you plug in the actual data for the account numbers. And you can also have a summary row like this, wherein you do some calculations. So how many types of rows are possible? 3 types of rows: header row, a data row, and a summary row, or a calculated row. And if you look at how this report was built, under assets, there were few current asset accounts like 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14, and 18,000. Those accounts have been used as rows, and the balance for these account numbers have been pulled from a space cube, and they are displayed here. And for each of these account numbers, there was a heading given there, custom heading, and this is what is showing up in the report output. Well and good. And you also have a total section for the current assets. And what are we doing here? We are basically summing up all these values from 3 to 7 and displaying the output. And you have the same story repeats here. You have few more asset accounts which are not current assets. Okay, so those account numbers are mentioned here, balances, and this is a total of the complete assets put together, current and non-current assets. And the exact same thing repeats for liabilities: current liabilities, non-current liabilities, equity, total equity, and the total liabilities and stockholders' equity. Okay, now the next question is, now let's move into the columns. So for this particular row, now if I look at this row, what do I know? I know that this balance is coming from 12,000 account number. Even though I'm seeing a text heading here, internally in the report definition, 12,000 account number has been used. So this balance has been pulled from a space cube for 12,000 account number and displayed there. But if you look at the columns, whenever you print a balance sheet report, so what was used as columns here? Accounting period is used as a columns. This 12-19 and 12-18 are nothing but accounting periods. So these accounting periods, the balance for that particular account number, 12,000, from 12-19 account number has been pulled and displayed here. And that is what you see here. Now the question is, where is this 12-19 coming from? When we ran this report, if you remember, we just selected the company segments for which we want to view the balance sheet report, right? And we selected 101 and company. But where did this 12-19 come from? So what happens is in FRS reports, these FRS reports pull the balances from S-base cube, right? So that S-base cube is nothing but a multi-dimensional cube. So that cube will have multiple dimensions. And what will be the dimensions of an S-base cube? The dimensions of an S-base cube would be, so FRS reports will pull the data from S-base cube, and S-base cube is a multi-dimensional cube which stores GL balances. And what would be the S-base cube dimensions? All the chart of account segments, like if there are six or 8 chart of account segments configured for a given ledger, all of them would be configured as a dimensions. All of them would show up as dimensions. And apart from that, there would also be some common dimensions like ledger, period, and few more columns, like whether the journal is an actual journal or an encumbrance journal, etc. So these are all nothing but S-base cube dimensions. And in FRS reports, you can use S-base cube dimensions as point of views. As point of views. Point of views means whatever you see here. So these are the point of views. Why are they called point of views? Because you can view the balance sheet report from those point of views. Meaning, if I want to view the balance sheet report for a different accounting period, I can do that. I can change this value, and when I change this value, the report will get executed again. Okay, let's try to run it for 12-18. Going to 2018. I'll select 12-18. Click OK. And the moment I change the value for the accounting period or the point of view value, you will notice that report gets executed again. And the balances for 12-19 are displayed here. And 12-17. I'll talk about how this is getting calculated automatically. But this particular value is being pulled automatically from the default value, or whatever value you select in the accounting period point of view, that is being used as a column here. So first of all, these are the point of views added to an FRS report. And what can you use as point of views to an FRS report? What can you add as point of view? Whatever dimensions you have in an S-base cube, whatever dimensions you have on an S-base cube, you can add them as point of views. And yes, when you change the point of views, if you change the ledger or if you change the cost center, you will only see the balances of that from that particular point of view. And if you look at how Oracle configured these two columns, okay, if you look at the report definition, there are two columns, A and C, and there's a blank column in between. That's why you're seeing a blank column here. And if you look at the first column, how did they configure it? What did they select here? They are selecting current point of view for accounting period. Meaning whatever value has been selected for accounting period point of view, that value will be used here. Used here means if you change this to 12-17, it will become 12-17. If you change this to 06-20, this will become 06-20. And the balances for these account numbers in that particular period will be pulled and displayed here. So the balances will also change the moment you change the period. Okay. And that's how this particular the column is configured. It is basically the current accounting period, whatever period has been selected here in the point of view. And if you look at how this has been configured, the column C, yes, there was a blank column. And column C is a relative of a current point of view, meaning whatever value has been selected here, minus 13. And we are doing a minus 13 from this. So in a year, you normally have 12 periods, right? Why are we doing minus 13? Because in most of the scenarios, you will also have an adjustment period as well. Like at the end of 12 periods, you will also have an adjustment period that would help you during the year-end close. So for that reason, you're doing, so since it's 12 plus 1, 13, you're doing a minus 13 from the current point of view period, so that you get to see the balance of these accounts in the same period in previous year. Now the question is, you might be thinking, why should I display the balances in the same period in previous year? Normally, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, whenever companies publish financial reports or any quarter results or any year results they announce, they will try to compare their performance with the performance in with the same quarter in the previous year. Say, for example, if If Infosys announces a quarterly results for second quarter of 2021, they will try to compare their performance in second quarter of 2021 with the second quarter of 2020. They don't compare the performance of second quarter of 2021 with the first quarter of 2021. Okay, because there are many dimensions that would change from a quarter to quarter. So comparison would be always between a quarter or a year or a period in that year to that of a period or a quarter in a previous year. So that's how you normally do a comparison in financial reports. So that's why you see 12-17 here. Okay, because you're looking at 12-18 period balances here, and we're looking at a same period balances in the previous year, so that it would be easy for the user to compare, or anyone looking at the report. It could be internal or external management stakeholders. So it would be easy for them to compare the performance of the company in 12-18 period with that of a previous year, so that they would know whether the business is doing well or not. Okay, so that's how. And how did Oracle achieve that? So they've configured this as a relative column to the current account point of view, and they were doing -13 from it. So that would take them 1 year back and show the balances back. And those balances are being shown here. So this particular balance is a balance of 12,000 account number in 12-17 period. As simple as that. And you see pages here. And in an FRS report, you can configure pages. And if you look at how Oracle configured the pages, if you see the pages, what did they configure as pages? They've configured the prompt for company as pages. So whatever company segments you selected in the prompt, so that would show up in the drop down. And remember, what did we select when we ran this report? We got a prompt and we selected two companies in there, 101 and total company, if you remember. So let me run it one more time in case you missed it. Let's close this. Let's run the report one more time. It'll open up the prompt, and it asked us to key in the company segments, right? In the company segments 101 and a total company, two segments have been selected, 101 company and a total company segment. If you're not happy with the selection, if you're not happy with the default values, you can change that. Okay, so you can take them off and you can add additional columns if you want. Say, for example, if you also want to see the balances for 102 as well, 102 company as well, what do? You expand companies, you include 102 as well into the mix, and you can click OK. So the default values for only two company segments, 101 and total company, and I added 102 as well to the list, and you click on OK. So whatever in the prompt, let's wait for the report to come up. So if you look at the prompt, the way pages prompt is configured is, it is configured as a prompt for company. So whatever user selects as a company segment, that would show up in the prompt here. If you look at the drop down now, you see three values in here. So whatever company user selects in a prompt, that will show up as a prompt here, or show up in the drop down here. And if you see, when you look for a balance of 101, you see the balances, and you're seeing the balances for 12-19 again, because that has been added as a default value to the point of view here. And if I change this, say for example, if I change this to company, you will notice that all these figures will increase, because you're not looking at 101 company balance sheet alone, but it's a consolidated balance sheet of all the companies. It's a total company segment. So if you click on company, you see the balances have changed. Yes, it has gone into negative. It's quite possible. But if you look at the cash balance, it has increased quite a bit. Right? And if you change to 102, it will show you the balances for 102. Okay, so there are very less number of, there's very less balance in 102. And now so this is about the pages. And you see this accounting, this point of views. What can you use as point of views? The S-base cube dimensions can be added as point of views. And we'll see how to add them as point of views. What Oracle did, it has added them as point of views here. And when you add point of views, S-base cube dimensions as point of views in an FRS report, you could mention default values as well for some of them. Say, for example, for accounting period point of view, a 12-19 has been assigned as a default value. For ledger, US primary ledger has been assigned as a default value. And you see the values assigned for other segments as well. Like for currency, it is USD. And for these point of views, Again, you can leave them wide open. You can let the user pick and choose any value they want if you wish. Say, for example, if you look at accounting period, I can expand it and I can pick and choose any period I want. I can run it for 2020 or I can run it for 2016 or 2017 as well. Okay, so I can change the period to 12-17 as well. So meaning this particular point of view has been left wide open. When user can pick and choose whatever period he wants to run the report for. And the balances of 12-19 is reported here and 12-16 has been picked up here. And this is possible. Yes, you can add SVSQ dimensions as point of views in a FRS report. And to those point of views, you can assign default values and you can leave them wide open. And if required, you can also log them out as well. Say, for example, if you don't want user to be able to run this report in any currency other than USD, or if you want your user to be able to run this report only in USD currency, you click on currency, you can lock it down as well. So you can show only the currency that you want to expose to the clients. Okay, so you can pick and choose. Yeah, you can decide whether you want to let user be able to select any value they want in the point of view as an accounting period or ledger, or you can log them down as well to a specific value as you see in a currency. So we'll see how to do both. And you see point of views here, and you also see point of views here. So these are also dimensions in SVSQ, and these are also dimensions in SVSQ. Why are some of them showing up here and some of them showing up here? 3 showing up here. If for a given point of view, if any default value has been selected, then those point of views will show up within the report output. If you don't select any default value for the point of views, then those point of views will show up at the top here. But it doesn't really matter. You can, even if you change the value here, this output will be, or this will be executed again and output will be generated. And you're currently viewing the output in HTML format. You can also change it to PDF if you want. You change it to PDF, output will be generated in PDF format. Okay, you could see PDF, it's 3 pages long. Can anybody tell me why 3 pages? That's because we selected 3 company segments. And the first page is for 101 company. If you scroll down, you see all the balances for 101 company. And if you scroll down, you see 102 company. You see the total company here. That's the second company that we selected. And you see 102. It's a third company that we have selected. Okay. So one of the biggest advantage of using FRS reports is, remember I mentioned that what else could we have done to build this report? Instead of pulling the balances from SVSQ, I could have written a BAP report myself. I could have queried GL balances or the GL base tables, and I could have also come up with a report like this. But what makes FRS reports unique is they offer something called as a drill through functionality. Okay, meaning if I want to know from which journals this balance has come from, so we know that this second row, the account number for this is 12,000, right? And that's what we see here, 12,000. If I want to know from what a child accounts of 12,000 is a topmost receivables account. If I want to know from what child accounts of 12,000 this balance has come from, I can figure it out quite quickly. So you have a drill through capability available in FRS, meaning I can click on the record, click on the balance. It will give me 2 options. It will ask me whether I'm interested in figuring out from which child accounts did this balance come from, in which case I can go to account inspector. Or if I'm interested in figuring out from what journals these balances have come from. Remember, the balance only comes from a GL journals, right? Only when you post a journal in GL, that's when the balances get updated, and that eventually gets updated in a GL balances table as well. So if you are interested in figuring out what journals, then you can go into second tab. What accounts, child accounts, you can go into first tab. So if you go into first tab, you will be able to see 12,000 account number in there, and the balance of it should match the balance that you see here. You see the balance is 232,000, right? And what do you see here? You see the same balance here and 12,000 account number. and I want to see the balances, or I want to see the balance that has come from a subledger or a child accounts of this particular account number. So I expanded and I could see the child accounts, and this is the balance that has come from each child account. So this would certainly help. This might not make sense to you or me because we are not the finance analysts, or we're not the financial users, but this would help them quite a bit. Like if they want to figure out what is the balance that has come from a specific child account, they can quickly figure it out here. But you don't you cannot build this functionality into a BAP report, virtually impossible. And apart from this, what I can also do is if say for example, if the balance is abnormal, meaning you should see, say you should, if ideally the value should be 100, if you're seeing 1 lakh there, or if you probably should see a 1 lakh value there, or if you're seeing say 200 or 300, which is quite abnormal, and you want to figure out who the culprit is or what journal is causing the trouble, in which case what you could do, you can quickly figure out what's the culprit by clicking on it. You can look at from which journals that balance has come from, and you can figure that out by clicking on drill to detail balances, and that will show you the journals which make up this particular balance. And you go into that, you will be able to see the journals that make up that balance. Okay, you'll be able to see the journals that make up that balance. You see 12101. This is a child account of 12,000, so that's why you see this journal showing up here. And I'm interested in 09. Yeah, 12-17 period, and that is what has been selected. And you're able to see the balances here, balances that make up this total balance. And they would be able to see if there is something that they're something unusual they see here, they can drill down further. So these are basically the journals from a GL. So if I see that something is wrong with a specific balance, I can click on the journal, and that will show me I can click on a line, and that will show me all the batches which are part of it. I can look at that there are some sales invoices, receipts that have come from receivables application. And if I see some problem with any specific account number, so for example, I can click on a specific journal, and that will show me I have the capability to drill down till the subledger transaction level. So that is showing me a journal. So I know from which subledger transaction this journal has come from. So if I see something abnormal here, so this is a line number. So 12101, this is a balance that has come up in the report for second line number, because second line has 12,000 account number, and this is a child of 12,000. And if I want to see what is the subledger transaction behind this particular journal, I can click on it, and I have an option to view the transaction as well. I can click on it and view the transaction, and that will take me into the subledger transaction, which is behind this journal entry. So it is basically this AR invoice which has been created in AR module, and that has been posted into GL, and that GL, the balance has been updated in there. And if there is some problem with this, so it means a financial user has nailed down what transaction was causing the problem, and they can figure out who has created this and why and when, right? So that's how the financial reports or FRS reports help you. They offer that drill through functionality, which will be quite helpful or quite beneficial when you're especially looking at a financial life statements. If you want to quickly compare it or see from where you've got that balance, of which journals or which child accounts or which journal entry or which entry from a subledger transaction is causing a problem, you can figure that out. Okay, and this is what makes FRS reports quite unique, and it would be easy to build as well. So you might be, since you're seeing this report for the first time, and since there is a lot of information in here, I try to break it down into pieces and I explain it in detail. And with this knowledge, you would be able to easily build a report tomorrow. So what we'll do tomorrow is I'll explain the use case for which we're going to build an FRS report, and we'll go ahead and build a report which exactly looks like this. We'll build it from scratch by plugging in all the features that you have seen. I'll show you how to create a prompt, how to add rows, how to add columns, pages, point of views, and how to add add the default values and how to log them down as well. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions on what we covered today?
Prasad, SBS and PBCS are same.
I'm not particularly sure what PBCS stands for.
Project and budgeting something.
Projecting. I'm not particularly sure. Maybe that might also be leveraging SPSQ. Not
Okay.
really sure. Yeah. Okay. It uses. Yeah. I'm not really sure.
Okay, no issues.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys, from anyone else? Okay. Thanks for your time. Then we'll meet again tomorrow and we'll create a FRS report from scratch. Thank you, guys.